welcome to Georgia. I know we've got so many visitors here, and you have to be careful because I was once visiting Georgia at a convention, and 10 years later I moved here. So I hope y'all will consider that. Now, just as a break, because Chancellor Perdue led us in that beautiful prayer, I'd love to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance because I think it's really important on the heels of that panel to understand what's at stake. It's our country, so if y'all don't mind, can we stand and say the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you so much. We can still do that in Georgia. So it was wonderful to have Chancellor Perdue open us in prayer this morning. As you heard, in 2002, he became the first Republican governor since Reconstruction here in Georgia. So when, as a great farmer from South Georgia, Governor Perdue stood up for our state, it marked the beginning of a new era with a vision for what was possible. And in a short amount of time, we became a much more prosperous state. 2002 was also significant to me for another reason. At the same time Sonny became Governor Perdue, I moved here to Georgia to work for a small startup company. That startup eventually became an incredible success story. And isn't creating more success stories why we're all here today? Strong conservative policy at the state and local level can create millions more success stories and drive access to more opportunities. And in fact, opportunity is a huge part of my Georgia story. In the 10 years before I moved here, I lived in 5 different cities after graduating from college. I pursued my MBA and I climbed the ladder in financial services. I moved from LA to Kansas City to Chicago to New York and Dallas. But Georgia was different. When I took a risk to join a startup 20 years ago, our company had just 100 employees. We worked day and night because we had a vision for what was possible, just like all of you here do. Not only was our business able to find its footing here in this great state to eventually employ thousands and to become a Fortune 500 company, but I found a state that respects American values, that is pro-family, that is pro-faith, that is pro-freedom. While our business grew and we acquired companies around the country and around the world, including acquiring the New York Stock Exchange, we never, ever considered leaving this great state. Being in Georgia was a competitive advantage and the best place in the country to live. But I can tell you from my experience, the contrast between Washington and Georgia is stark. Georgians know it too. 78% of us Georgians say the country's heading in the wrong direction. And I'm sure that's true in your state too. This is where the power of federalism comes in. We've seen the contrast between red states and blue states like never before in terms of playing out in their governing philosophy. Georgia's a proud red state, and we govern for people. We put opportunity within everyone's reach. And indeed, part of great policy is giving people from all walks of life the chance to live the American dream. That begins with states who focus on helping job creators, also known as businesses, large and small. They provide that teenager's first job bussing tables at a restaurant, or the college graduate's first corporate job at a manufacturing company, or those returning to school in order to switch careers. And I know that all of this works because each of those steps were on my path. Building a healthy business environment and creating the opportunities that bring everyone up starts with a focus on education, economic development, and a skilled workforce. Our legislators have also here cut taxes at both the corporate and individual level while balancing the budget and creating a budget surplus. With a vital international logistics corridor, vast real estate, low commercial energy rates, and fewer regulations, you can see why Georgia has been the #1 place in the country to do business for 8 years running. Today, 18 Fortune 500 companies call Georgia home, and we're 6th in the nation for small business. We have over 500,000 women-owned businesses, and 1/4 of our businesses are minority-owned. 20 years ago, Georgia's leadership position on a world and international stage was not assured. But it's a textbook example of what's possible when states have a vision for prosperity and commit to limiting the reach of government and to promoting free enterprise. So you may know me as a former senator from the state of Georgia, but you may not know that I grew up on a family farm in rural Illinois. I worked my way up from waitressing, from working in our cattle lot, from working in our fields, and I was the first in my family to graduate from college. I then became a businesswoman, an entrepreneur, a sports team owner, and a philanthropist. But I started out on that family farm with only a dream of succeeding in business and the work ethic and determination to make it happen. I realized my dream of working in financial services for more than 2 decades, and then I became a chief executive of a digital asset startup. But sadly, I was one of the few senators in Washington that actually had any business experience, and I was the only member of Congress to have an MBA and a CFA. I understand how to read a balance sheet, something those in Washington rarely do. Still, today, with hard work and faith, the American dream is possible for all. But over the years, we've seen that dream become much more challenging, particularly in blue states that put up needless roadblocks to educational success or to career success, and they create dependency along the way. The growth of government is robbing Americans of their liberty by encroaching in all aspects of our lives, when, in fact, we know the private sector can often do better at solving our problems. And I saw the process and consequences both in Washington and in the private sector, and can assure you the federal government programs, spending, and picking winners and losers is not the answer. In fact, it's the root of the problems that we have here today. Fiscal discipline has been replaced with endless new legislation and executive orders that take trillions in taxpayer dollars that they worked so hard for. And that's just in the last 18 months. Monetary policy is now a political football. And look at today's debate on inflation and the definition of a recession. So the expansion of the Fed's balance sheet to $9 trillion, while ignoring the inflationary effects of this administration's Green New Deal, it poses unprecedented risks that we are not sure we're prepared for. And as high and as fast as interest rates have risen in recent months, we still have negative real interest rates and 9% inflation. So that means rates are set to go higher and higher in the coming months. And similarly, we saw the blue state fallout during COVID. Endless lockdowns, small business closing, Americans leaving the workforce, and expecting the government to step in the income gap. That dependency creates more control by the government in our lives. It increases the power of the administrative state through taxation and bureaucracy. And the more regulation and legislation we push through, the less freedom and opportunity that we all have. So with today's labor participation rate well below pre-pandemic levels, we now have a shortage of workers, spiraling wages that still haven't kept pace with the rise in consumer prices. But the fact is, and the bottom line really is, that states like Georgia are the last line of defense. By leading with common sense policies that preserve local control and democratic values, we can protect our country at the state level. And that's why I'm so thrilled that ALEC is here with us today in Georgia. When you uphold conservative principles, limited government, free enterprise, free markets, federalism, you become a great place to live, to work, and raise a family. And I saw as an executive at one of Georgia's top job creators and as a senator, the remarkable growth that people-centered policies can have on the state and the damage that can be done in states that focus on politics instead of people. And that's why state legislators are so vital in people's lives. But I'm desperately concerned that they are underappreciated. It's why I now work every single day to elect common sense officials at the state and local level. Through my organizations, Greater Georgia and Citizens for Greater Georgia, we're ringing the alarm on the importance of state and local elections and our policy right here at home. I know there's a lot of focus in Washington, but I'm confident that here locally, we can make a huge difference by activating citizens to get involved, to learn about policies and the politicians that affect their everyday lives. Those of us here are really best positioned to bring that mindset of growth back to our states and create more opportunity for more people. We can either get mired in debating the bad policy of the left and fighting culture wars, or we can go on offense and set an unapologetic agenda that restores our strength, our freedoms, and our normalcy in America. And each of you has the power to propel prosperity, to protect the American dream in your state with pro-growth policies that lift more Americans up rather than holding them back. I know that together we'll create millions of more success stories in this great country. Thank you, and God bless you. Thank you.